One of the reasons I share my story so freely is because I hope that in people watching me use my voice, they feel empowered or permission to do the same. And that's one of the beautiful parts of social media.
Hi everyone, welcome here to Go All In show on ABC 15. My name is Stant. I'm your host, and today I would love to introduce you guys to my special guest, Melissa Irvin. Melissa, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Nim. It's my pleasure. I'm so excited to speak with you.
Thank you so much. And I know you're super busy. Well, for those who haven't come across to what Melissa's doing, Melissa had been impact so many people, change their relationship with food, founder of Whole30 and New York Times bestseller. I mean, how many books did you write again? Like 6, right?
I have 8 books and 6 of them are New York Times bestsellers. Yeah, I've been busy.
Congratulations. Is all the book related to food?
Yeah, so far they all are. So far, all of my books are related to the Whole30 program. So how people can get started with the Whole30, the background and the science behind the program, all of the practical application for how to do a Whole30. There are cookbooks to support, recipes along the way. And then I have an entire book called Food Freedom Forever that's all about life after your Whole30 and how to take what you've learned and turn it into a sustainable lifestyle.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but I know that you're not always been healthy and into the fitness and food. Can you share with us a little bit about your backstory of like, how do you get to do what you do? And I bet you tell this story many times, right?
I do tell this story a lot for so many reasons, but I essentially was addicted to drugs. I spent 5 years as a drug addict in college, and shortly after college, I turned to drugs as a result of some trauma I had experienced at 16. I didn't know how to process it. My family didn't handle it well. And when I found drugs, I realized that was the perfect escape from what I had been avoiding. And so I spent 5 years addicted and finally went to rehab. Spent a year in recovery, relapsed, went to rehab again. You know, my story is not uncommon. And it was the second time through that I realized that I had to make some significant changes in every aspect of my life if I really wanted to maintain my recovery. And that's when I started going to the gym, making like-minded friends who also enjoyed running and yoga. I started eating better, going to bed early. You know, I got a new job. I listened to different music. I really reinvented myself. And that was where, 21 years ago, my passion for health and fitness really came into play.
21 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So again, this question, other people when they interview, they probably ask at the end. But I'm going to ask you right now, like if you, Melissa, can tell your Melissa younger self, that 16, 17, 18 years old, what would you tell her at that time?
I know at that time I was so lost and I felt so alone. And I think I just would have told her that you're not alone. I didn't have the kind of social support available to me that we have now. There was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there were no online support groups, there were no crisis hotlines. And so at 16, if my family, wasn't able to be there to support me the way that I needed, I felt really alone in that trauma. And so I think I would go back and say, like, you're not alone. And I wish I had used my voice earlier. I couldn't have. I was so young and it was so difficult. But had I known then what I know now, I would have started talking a lot earlier, and I think it would have helped.
Yeah. So do you think though that if you tell her, that you're not alone, do you think she will understand what you really mean? Because she also surrounded herself with family, right, who supported.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe the message of you're not alone would have needed to be backed up by action. It would have been really nice if I had been able to use my voice and to tell my extended family, to tell my friend group what had happened and that I wasn't okay and that I needed help. I think in that instance, people would have showed up for me. But unfortunately, it was a challenging situation. My parents did the best they could, but I did spend a lot of years feeling really isolated and shameful and alone. And I really think that that's what drove me to seek out the drugs so effectively.
Right. And again, this interview is really good, not just for like adult entrepreneur, but also for younger generation that, like guys, listen, like maybe it might feel like you're alone, but you really not,
Yeah.
and speak out more, right? And
Yeah. Or
more.
find people who are using their voice just to give you permission or to help you understand that like that's possible. I did a lot of that and I try to do a lot of that now. One of the reasons I share my story so freely is
Mhm.
because I hope that in people watching me use my voice, they feel empowered or permission to do the same. And that's one of the beautiful parts of social media.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like your business is not just like teaching people to eat healthy food, but really leaving the legacy behind, you know, from where you were, until where you now.
Yeah.
So Whole 30 had changed so many people's perspective about food, about how they have the relationship with it. Can you share with us a little bit about how this idea come up to become like super successful business right now? And it's not just about how much we sell and the revenue, but it's also about the big why behind that. What is your big why?
Yeah. So Whole 30, for people who don't know, Whole 30 is a 30-day self-experiment. We describe it as a reset. It's not a weight loss program. It's not a detox or a cleanse. It's a real reset for your health, your habits, and your relationship with food. And it came about as a self-experiment back in 2009. I was really into eating well and exercising and my performance in the gym. And my original co-founder posited this kind of 30-day experiment to me. What if we went like really squeaky clean and kind of cleaned up those last little bits and pieces of our diet and gave up alcohol and gave up added sugar? If we did all this for 30 days, I wonder what would happen to our performance in the gym. And the impact it had on every area of my life, the profound transformation it had to my energy, my sleep, my mood, my self-confidence, yes, my performance and recovery, but most important, my emotional relationship with food and all of the ways that I had been using food to punish or comfort or show myself love. And now, in the absence of those foods, realized how dysfunctional that relationship was and formed new healthy ways to cope. It was such a profoundly transformational experience that I decided to share it on my blog and see if anyone else wanted to kind of join along. And that was really back in July 2009, the start of the very first Whole 30. And it's only continued to growth from there.
I love it because a lot of time when I interview top thought leaders, they always say like, it just started from my experiment, and then I start to share with people that I know, and then it just grow, and I think that's the way is the beauty it is, to just like grow organically until now. You don't have to explain anything. People just like come into you, and you are the magnet for that.
Well, I'm very close to the program, and I'm still very close. It's always been my voice. I've always done, all the writing for the program. But we have been incredibly organic with our growth in that we did not do any marketing or advertising for years. We didn't sell anything for years. The Whole 30, by the way, is free. It's always been free. It will always be free. You can do the entire program and download all of our free resources and tons of free recipes. And the only thing you need to buy is the food that you're going to eat. And our model has really always been give stuff away, just give it away. And then when we do have things to sell, like I combine all of this information from various sources into like one comprehensive book, people are really eager to support and they're really eager to participate because we have been so deeply involved in building the community from day one.
Yeah. So what would you advise for those entrepreneurs who's like, well, if you give it for free, you don't have any hook, then people are not gonna buy it. How can you make money from it?
I know. There are
advice for that.
It's an actual marketing principle that I now have read about in many books, but didn't know at the time. All I knew was that when we were starting out, we needed to build community, build communication, establish our voice, and build loyalty. And the way to do that was by giving things away for free, informational resources, content, whether, I'm going to do this seminar and I might charge people $20 for an 8-hour seminar to cover my travel, but I'm going to practice my material. I'm going to gain frequently asked questions. I'm going to refine how I explain things to make sure that it's understandable to everyone. And I'm going to build that sense of community. So once that's established, I think that's the hardest piece of it. If you've got a really good product that works, and that's the key as well, you can have the best community, the most loyalty, the best marketing in the world, but if your product sucks, it's not going to get you very far.
It doesn't matter how cheap it is, right?
It doesn't matter. It has to work, and the Whole30 works. And if you have that and you focus on really building that community, now we're at the point where like we've got this fiercely loyal army who has been radically impacted by their Whole30 success, who wants to stay connected to the community. They want to support us as a business. They want to share about it with their friends and family because their experience was so positive. I don't know if that kind of advice works for every business or every industry, a salad dressing company, for example, but that's how we chose to move Whole30 forward, and it's been really successful for us.
How many years of sharing and giving out away for free before you start to feel like, okay, we have enough followers and fans, super fans, right? And then we start to sell something.
Yeah, my first book was published in 2012. So that's 3 years of traveling, giving workshops. I think we offered an ebook on the Whole30 for sale for a little while in between sort of our founding and when the first book came out. And we eventually did start charging for workshops. We were being asked to fly all across the country to sit in a cold CrossFit gym in, New Jersey in the middle of winter and talk about the Whole30 for 8 hours. And we started charging for that, but we didn't really have anything to sell for 3 years. It was 3 years of, just like I said, education and information and community building and creating resources to make sure people were successful with the program. That was what was going to sell what we were offering, were people with us.
I love it. I love it. And sometimes we just need to listen to someone that have done it before, just like you. I listened to the audiobook from Pat Flint. He's talking about super fans, right?
Yes.
Like when we have those group of people who become our super fans, then everything else become a lot easier because we have that relationship.
Yes. Yes. And you've got to build that authentically and organically. And that's the only way to do it if you really want it to last. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes, I think, a lot of love and passion. I don't think we could have built it had I not been so incredibly passionate about connecting with people in my community and helping them through their journey. So it is a bit of a long game. It's certainly not a quick way to make money, but
it's not a sprint.
No, it's not a sprint. No, but I'm in this for the long haul, and so is my team. So yeah.
So when you start Whole30 with your co-founder, do you have anyone else that help you as a team? Because right now, like I look at your website, you have team, you have the whole village.
Yeah.
When you first started, how many people working?
Oh, it was just the two of us for forever. Oh, it was just the two of us. And he was more kind of the big picture idea guy. I was like the work person. I did all the writing, all the website management. So it was just us for a really long time. I don't think we hired our first employee until about 2011 when later than that. It was after the first book came out. So it might've been 2013 or 2014. The first 5 years was just 2 people. And we still have a pretty small team. There's 17 of us full time right now. So it's grown quite a bit, but like we do a lot with a relatively small but incredibly talented group.
Wow. And how do you again, this is the question that a lot of entrepreneurs had, like, how do I find the right people to add into the team? And the second question is, how can we like really trust them and delegate the work to them, instead of like doing everything by ourselves?
Yeah. So before Whole30, I worked for an insurance company for 10 years. I managed 20 people in 3 different offices. I ran a team of business analysts and operations assistants. So I had a lot of experience hiring. And one of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given was you hire for talent, not for skill. You can teach skill. If someone doesn't know how to operate the WordPress website, or they're not that familiar with the back end of Facebook, you can teach that, but you can't teach talent. And so when I looked to hire for Whole30, I always hired from within. I would not post a job ad on a classified or on a job board, I would just throw something up on Whole30 social media saying, hey, I'm looking for a social media manager. Every single person I've hired came from within the Whole30 community.
No
So
way.
that meant that they were already interested in the business. They loved the mission. They loved the vision. Almost everyone has already done a Whole30 by the time they come to me. So they get the community and they're really jazzed, not just about the job, but about working for a company that they believe in. And that's been a good strategy for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again, everything you said, it just come back from within.
Mm-hmm.
And
it does.
And I believe that's how you manage your company too and your team, right?
Yes. And you asked about delegating. I realized really early on, I had one business coach very early in my days who would say to me, you are not adding value doing your bookkeeping. You add value when you write the books, when you come up with the resources, when you engage with the community, when you go, on a speaking engagement. Like, you're not adding any value. You need to buy people to do the things that they are good at and you are not good at, where you don't add value. And so I've really kept that in mind. Everyone I hired is better than me in their chosen field. And because they're better than me, I trust them to take care of their jobs in a way that I might not understand or be able to do, because that's why I hired them. So I actually really love delegating. I don't find it that hard.
And I think they probably feel like very fun to work with you, because that's how you value your team.
Yes,
I
hope so.
I know. They probably value that. So what is the exciting new project that you guys are working on right now? Are there anything that we can know a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have like a community summit coming up. So we've had to cancel all of our in-person events, unfortunately, like the whole rest of the world since 2020. But we really want to continue to take care of our community, to provide them guidance towards the September Whole30, which will start at the very beginning of September. So we're hosting a virtual community night in early August. I think it's the 5th and the 6th, Thursday and Friday. And Thursday night is community night, where we're inviting everyone who wants to attend to come in to hear a lecture from me about food freedom. We're going to have a speaker. The head chef of Chipotle is going to be joining us, talking about how he creates fresh Whole30 meals with Chipotle's 53 ingredients.
Wow.
We have, there's going to be a morning kind of strong and bendy fitness session that I'm going to lead on Friday morning. So that event is coming up really soon. We should have a landing page available shortly for people who want to join us. That would be a really great intro to people who have never heard about the Whole30, or who want to do a Whole30 with us in the month of September and are looking for some motivation and resources to get started.
And just join the community, just have fun.
Yes.
I can go back to the 16 years old Melissa, you're not alone.
Yes, exactly. I love that. Yeah, make other like-minded friends who have the same growth mindset that you do. Yes.
Cool. Well, who has been, I'm just curious, who has been your mentor or your support since the beginning of this, business idea? Because you were working as a company for other people before, and, until you have your vision, you start your own company. Like, who had been that support for you, and what did you learn from that person?
I've had so many mentors along the way. There was a professor when I was after I was in recovery, I went back to college to get my degree, and I got a business degree. And I had one professor there, Jack McCarthy, who taught my organizational behavior class. And he single-handedly transformed the way I communicate with peers and bosses and employees. An incredibly transformational experience that I still carry with me today, and I owe him a debt of gratitude for that. I had a vice president at my insurance company where I used to work, Nina Caroselli, who was one of the women who really rose through the ranks rather early. And insurance tends to be a very conservative, white man-driven industry. And she really showed me kind of some of what it took to be a woman in leadership, and I really admired her for that. I have another female founder, Madeline Hayden, who founded the company Nut Pods, who is a mentor of mine now. She's the one I call when I have a question about hiring or firing or growing the business or next steps. And she's been just such a good friend and a good leader in that space. Wow. And I would say my biggest source of support right now is my husband. He's my biggest fan. He's the one who's the most proud of me. He's the one who I get to talk about challenges with, and he listens and offers great advice. And so I'm really lucky to have him too.
Wow. Like I look through your Instagram and I just saw you guys picture together, such a great example of working together, sharing the talent, the gift that you have to each other and to the world.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks.
I'm such a great example for support. Please tell him that.
I will. Yeah. I tell him all the time. He knows. It's so nice to have a partner who is just proud of you, who's proud of you. And I just love that experience right now. Yeah.
Mm, wonderful. So you have done a lot of work. You have overcome and become new person, but still have your root. But you also help so many people. And what is your legacy look like from now on, Melissa?
I don't really ever think about my personal legacy. I don't care about that. I have an 8-year-old son. I want him to grow up thinking fondly about his childhood and how much time we spent with him and how much we spent in the outdoors and how he developed a love of nature and hiking and paddleboarding with us. Like, that's my focus right now personally. But what I really want is for Whole30 to have a legacy. I want everyone in the world who wants to be able to do the Whole30 to be able to. I want to make the program accessible. I want to continue our work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space in wellness. I want to continue to add resources and make the program more inclusive and more representative. Like, that's really what I'm here to build. Long after I'm gone, I want people to still be doing and having transformative experiences with the Whole30.
So wonderful. How can people reach out to you?
You can find me on Instagram, just like you did, at Melissa Youre. And anything Whole30 is just Whole30, WHOLE and the number 30.
Wonderful, Melissa. Thank you so much for being here. And I just love how sincere you are and how much you have the passion to share and want Whole30 to really transform others, like not just you, but everyone else. Thank you.
I do. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nim. It was so good to chat with you. This was such a great conversation.
Love you. Big hug. Thank you so much.
Thank you.